ladies and gentlemen, the members of the Order of the Golden Heart.
Our fraternity is made strong because of the diversity of contributions made by our brothers. Our founding fathers knew this well, and included among our first brothers were artists, mathematicians, historians, and theologians, each of whom used his own unique gifts to serve SigEp. For founder William Phillips, contributing to SigEp was his passion and his vocation. For Uncle Billy, using his gifts in the service of his brothers meant decades of devoted work as our first Grand Secretary. Guiding our brotherhood through its crucial early years was his calling. For you, SigEp is also a calling, a mission, your life's work. Like many of us, your undergraduate experience was impactful and formative. You thrived in a high-functioning chapter environment surrounded by brothers who became lifelong friends. But your SigEp experience had only just begun, because during the ensuing decades, SigEp's mission was your to-do list, its cardinal principles, your daily objectives. As a member of the SigEp staff, you guided the brotherhood through many challenges and obstacles. When fraternal organizations across the country were struggling during the 1960s, your work expanding chapter services support was instrumental in helping our fraternity survive. In the late 1970s, determined not to cut back critical services to our chapters, you worked through years of financial crisis, often gambling and borrowing funds over the summer to be repaid once the school year began. Yet ever still, you were determined to elevate the quality of service provided to our chapters by our traveling staff. With the 1972 hiring of a young, talented graduate of our Texas Alpha chapter, Garry Kief, the Regional Director Program, as we know it today, was launched under your leadership. For the last 45 years, regional directors have visited our chapters with the passion you instilled in those very first RDs. In the 1980s, as drinking on college campuses worsened and legal liabilities piled up, you spearheaded the creation of risk management guidelines for all fraternities that helped lower insurance rates and keep our brothers safe. Through the 90s and 2000s, you turned your support to SigEp's long-term financial needs, ensuring that what was being created would last for years to come. Kurt Carlson and Bill Schreier asked you to head up SigEp's first big capital campaign, the Campaign for the Heart. They gave you a goal of raising $6 million, so you went out and raised $9 million. Through these challenges, you not only helped SigEp survive, you made SigEp thrive, a brotherhood of leaders striving to make the world a better place. The SigEp that we know today would not have been possible without your work. In your second year as executive director, SigEp launched the first of its kind series of regional academies, known today as the Carlson Leadership Academies. Zollinger House, SigEp's beautiful headquarters building where brothers and friends visit each year, was the result of your work as president of the SigEp Educational Foundation. The Residential Learning Community, the Balanced Man Program, the Ruck Leadership Institute, and the Trago's Quest to Greece became integral elements of the SigEp experience when you took them from dreams to reality. Indeed, many of the brothers who have shaped our great fraternity over the last 5 decades credit you for recruiting them into fraternity service, adding more diverse gifts to our volunteer ranks. Brothers like Bill Schreier and Kurt Carlson, Jim Clayton and Tom Hicks, and yes, even Bill Tragos and I were all compelled to take up the mantle of fraternity leadership because of the faith and confidence we had in you and your vision to make this world a better place, one young man at a time. Even today, at age 80, your Tuesday afternoons each week include a trip to Zollinger House to ensure the history of the fraternity is preserved and the stories of virtue, diligence, and brotherly love will inspire brothers for years to come. Brothers, we all have a part to play in the pursuit of our highest ideals, And we are grateful for those among us who are called to serve SigEp in this way, from our very first Order of the Golden Heart recipient, Billy Phillips, to the brother who we recognize today. For your nearly 50 years of dedicated work for our dear fraternity, we now present you, Brother Chuck White, with the Order of the Golden Heart.
The only reason he knows I'm 80 is because I had to give my birth date to get on his plane today. Or else he wouldn't have known. This is a secret, and they keep it a secret on purpose so you don't talk very long. And I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to talk about something totally different. I was blessed with a great fraternity experience at Western Michigan University. We had people in the chapter that were just great brothers. We had alumni that supported us, as good as any I've ever seen in the country. We had a chapter of over 100 men, and we did most everything right. And because of that, I agreed to come to work at the headquarters. I was ready to go to work with a bank in Kalamazoo after graduation, and they called me up and they were short a regional director. So they flew me to Richmond for the weekend, and I really fell in love with what was going on at the headquarters, and called up the bank and said I wouldn't be there Monday morning. And same thing happened about 15 years later after I got out of the Army. I was with Procter & Gamble, and I got a phone call, and Dick Shimke, who was chapter service director, was going to become an Episcopal priest. They said, would you come to the headquarters and take his place? I said, how could I refuse that, Episcopal priest? Yeah. So I did. What I want to talk about is, I see Jackie Griffith over here, and I know Deb McKenna's over here. I want to talk about SigEp wives. I grew up in New York, and I raced cars on the Long Island Expressway, the Southern State Parkway, anywhere I could. My wife Susan grew up in North Carolina, and she rode horses competitively. She went to a college where they didn't have any fraternities or sororities. When I was asked to leave Procter & Gamble and come to the headquarters, she was very supportive, even though she had no idea what she was getting into. And we came to Richmond and got a house. We have 2 daughters. And the reason I talk about Deb and Jackie is I could never have done my job if Susan didn't do what she did for me. She raised our 2 daughters, and I was never home. You know, Brian can attest to the fact, if you're going to run the headquarters operation, you're not going to be home. Most things take place on weekends when alumni can be there, and there's a lot of travel involved, and somebody else has to take care of your home. That's your wife. So I would dedicate this to all the wives who support the men working for the fraternity. And thank you.